Have you ever stopped in silence to look your own results straight in the eye? Not what you tell others, not what you post on social media, but the truth that your bank account, your body, and your inner peace are shouting. Your results don't lie. Your program does. Most people live repeating the same story, year after year, hoping something will magically change. But nothing changes until you change. And that's the uncomfortable truth that almost no one dares to accept. Today, I want you to do a brutally honest exercise. Look at your life as if it were a mirror. That mirror doesn't reflect your face, it reflects your destiny. It shows you your income, your energy level, your relationships, your emotional state. And ask yourself with courage, am I living the way I truly want, or am I just surviving? Trapped in a program I didn't even write, because the truth is that most of us were programmed to accept mediocrity as normal, to settle for a job we don't love, for a health we don't take care of, for dreams we bury. But listen, if you're here today in front of this message, it's not a coincidence. The universe never makes mistakes. You've arrived at El Código Napoleon Hill, a space created to remind you that there's a code, a spiritual and mental map that can rewrite your life from the inside out. In the next few minutes, I'm not going to motivate you. I'm going to confront you, because motivation evaporates. What we're going to plant together here is much deeper. It's the awakening of your consciousness. And when that consciousness awakens, you will discover that you're not limited by your education, by your past, or by the debts you carry. You'll discover that there was always a hidden key in your subconscious mind, waiting to be turned. Today can be the turning point of your life, and it all begins with one decision: to keep repeating the same program or dare to install a new one. The question is, what do you decide today? More than a century ago, a young journalist named Napoleon Hill received a mission that seemed impossible: to interview the most successful men of his time to discover what the true secret of wealth and success was. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, giants who transformed the world. Napoleon Hill discovered something that went far beyond money. He found a universal code, a series of laws that were repeated in every story of triumph. And in 1937, he captured them in a book that would change millions of lives. Think and Grow Rich. That book wasn't just ink on paper. It was a map to transform the mind, to ignite in the subconscious a spark capable of moving mountains. Napoleon Hill called it autosuggestion, the practice of sowing ideas with emotion and repetition until the subconscious accepts them as truth. Now listen to this, because here another man enters the scene who would take that seed and make it bloom in the modern era: Bob Proctor. When Proctor received that book in 1961, his life was complete chaos. He earned barely $4,000 a year and owed more than $6,000. He had a history of mediocre jobs, barely 2 months of high school education, and no clear direction. Outwardly he smiled, but inside he was broken. And yet, something happened. It wasn't a stroke of luck. It wasn't magic. It was a decision. To read, study, and apply what Napoleon Hill had left as a legacy. Proctor read it over and over until that seed took root in his subconscious. The result was a radical shift. In 1 year, he went from bankrupt to earning $175,000, and in a few more years, he built an empire that expanded worldwide. But the most powerful thing wasn't the money. It was the understanding. Proctor understood that what Napoleon Hill had called autosuggestion was actually part of an even bigger system, what he named paradigm. A paradigm is an invisible mental program, a set of habits, beliefs, and emotions that get installed in the subconscious from childhood and direct our life like an autopilot. Napoleon Hill planted the seed. Proctor designed the map to water it and turn it into visible results. And now you are here listening to this because you also have paradigms that bind you and the same key that can free you. I want you to pause for a moment and think about it. How many times have you tried to change with effort, with discipline, with motivation, and you always return to the same point? How many goals did you write in January that today in September are still on the list without being crossed out? It's not that you're weak. It's not that you lack talent. It's that you're fighting an invisible enemy, a paradigm installed deep in your subconscious. Look at the irony. Bob Proctor, without formal education, without advantages, managed to transform his life because he understood that change never happens outside first. It always begins inside. And if he could, you can too. Here at El Código Napoleon Hill, we're not here to give you pretty phrases to motivate you for a few minutes. We're here to remind you that there are universal laws that never fail, eternal principles that have taken men and women from the harshest poverty to the most abundant wealth, from the deepest darkness to the brightest clarity. Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve." ROR lived it from debts to millions, from chaos to purpose. And you today can be the next chapter of that chain of transformation. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your life 5 years from now, not as it is today, but as you truly want it to be. A life without the anguish of debts. A life in which you wake up with passion every morning. A life surrounded by people who inspire and elevate you. That vision isn't fantasy. It's the seed that Napoleon Hill revealed and the paradigm that Proctor taught to install. Today, that knowledge is in front of you. The question is, will you dare to apply it? Look at your life as if it were a scoreboard, a board that doesn't make mistakes, that doesn't embellish, that doesn't exaggerate. That board is your results. Your results don't lie. Your words can put on makeup. Your excuses can sound convincing. You can even deceive your family or your friends. But your results speak a language that's impossible to silence. The Bible expressed it with brutal clarity. By their fruits you shall know them. And Proctor repeated it over and over. Your results always tell the truth. I want you to think about it right now. What fruits is your life showing? What do your results say about the program that's running in your mind? Look at your bank account. That number tells the truth. Look at your health and your energy when you wake up every morning. That state tells the truth. Look at your relationships, your level of peace, your enthusiasm for life. All of that without filters or embellishments tells the truth. I know, it can hurt. Because many of us discovered that even though we know a lot, even though we've read books, listened to talks, and accumulated information, our results don't reflect that knowledge. And do you know what that contradiction provokes? Frustration. That feeling of being trapped in a cycle, learning, getting motivated, trying, and returning to the same starting point. Bob Proctor used to say, "You're not short on knowledge, you're short on patterns of behavior." And Napoleon Hill had anticipated it decades earlier. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power, until it's organized into plans and turned into action. Here's the uncomfortable truth. It doesn't matter how much you know. What matters is what you do repeatedly. It doesn't matter what you desire in your conscious mind. What matters is what your subconscious believes is possible. And that subconscious always reveals its programming through results. Let me ask you honestly, do your current results reflect the potential you know you have? Or do they reflect an old paradigm that you didn't even choose? Because most paradigms were installed without our permission. By our parents, by school, by culture, by painful experiences that left marks in childhood. And today, without realizing it, we continue repeating that foreign script. It's like having outdated software in a modern device. The screen is bright, the design is new, but the system inside is old and slow. That's how many of us function. We shine on the outside, but we sabotage ourselves on the inside. And until we have the courage to look at those results without excuses, there won't be a real change. Look at it this way. Your current life is a perfect reflection of your subconscious beliefs. If you want another reflection, it's not enough to clean the mirror. You have to change the image that's inside you, and here, I want you to feel it. This is not condemnation. It's opportunity. Because if your current results were created by an old paradigm, it means that new results are waiting for a new paradigm. Imagine for a moment that your results align with your dreams, that your account reflects abundance instead of scarcity, that your body reflects energy instead of tiredness, that your heart reflects peace instead of anxiety. That's not a random miracle. That's applied mental science and spiritual law. Napoleon Hill said, "Every adversity, every failure, carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." And Proctor confirmed it. When you change your paradigm, you change your entire life. So today, it's not about punishing yourself for your results. It's about recognizing them as a faithful mirror, a mirror that doesn't lie, a mirror that is telling you the program can be changed. And that change begins in the next step. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a big house. Upstairs is the living room, wide, bright, where you receive guests and decide what to show. That's your conscious mind. There are your plans, your goals, your desires, your ideas of what you want to achieve. But in the basement, deep down, there's a dark room full of old boxes. That's where the phrases you heard as a child are, the beliefs you inherited from your family, the fears you absorbed from society. That basement is your subconscious mind. And listen carefully. The subconscious doesn't argue with you. It doesn't ask whether what enters is true or false. It doesn't reason. It obeys. It's like fertile soil. Any seed that falls into it, repeated and charged with emotion, will inevitably grow. And there lies the secret. What you want doesn't grow. What you believe grows. Now, what is a paradigm? It's a set of ideas, habits, and emotions that were installed in that basement years ago, and that today govern your life without you noticing. The paradigm is the autopilot that drives your behavior, your way of thinking, your emotional reactions, and consequently, your results. Napoleon Hill called it autosuggestion, repeating thoughts until it penetrates the subconscious. Bob Proctor explained it in a modern way. A paradigm is an invisible mental program that controls almost everything you do. Let me give you an image. Think of a thermostat. If you set your home's thermostat to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, even if you open the window and cold air comes in, the system will work to return to the same point. Likewise, your self-image, which is part of your paradigm, works. You can earn more money one month, feel a peak of success, or achieve a breakthrough. But if your internal thermostat is set to scarcity, inevitably you'll return to the same level. That's why so many people work hard, get motivated, read books, and end up in the same place because they didn't change the program. They only changed the effort. Do you see it now? The paradigm dictates how much money you think you deserve, what kind of relationships you accept, how much health you consider normal, how far you think you can go. And most strikingly, most of those paradigms you didn't choose. They were installed in you. From a young age, everything you saw, heard, and felt went straight into your subconscious. When they told you, money doesn't grow on trees, life is hard, that's not for people like us. You must settle for what you have. All those repeated phrases, charged with emotion, became seeds, and those seeds put down deep roots. Today, decades later, you may still be living within those roots. Now think about this. If the subconscious doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined, what would happen if you start planting new images with emotion and faith? What would happen if instead of repeating phrases of scarcity, you repeat words of abundance with conviction? What would happen is that your paradigm would begin to reprogram itself, and when the paradigm changes, everything changes. Let me give you a simple example. A child learns to ride a bicycle. At first, he falls again and again until one day something clicks in his mind and body. Suddenly, he can do it without thinking. What happened? A new program was recorded in his subconscious. The same happens with every habit in your life. Now I want you to imagine another scene. You have a lock in front of you. That lock represents your current paradigm. For years you tried to open it by force, with motivation, with effort, with more knowledge. But the lock doesn't open with force, it opens with the right key. New ideas, repeated with emotion that penetrates the subconscious. That's the golden key that Napoleon Hill and Proctor wanted to give you. That's why Napoleon Hill said, "Any idea that is held in the mind, emphasized with faith and emotion, must manifest in reality." And Proctor complemented it. Change your paradigm, and you will change your entire life. I want you to feel it. You're not a slave to your past. You're not a victim of your upbringing or your culture. You are the gardener of your mind. Sow a different seed, and you'll harvest a different life. The question is, what seed are you still sowing today? Are you feeding your subconscious with images of scarcity, fear, and doubt? Or are you programming it with abundance, faith, and certainty? Look, when you understand this, your life will never be the same again, because you'll know that you're not tied to your circumstances. You're tied to your paradigm. And if you have the power to change it, you have the power to change everything. After working with thousands of people around the world, Bob Proctor discovered something fascinating. Not everyone wants to be a millionaire, nor does everyone dream of running a big company. But everyone desires three universal things. The first desire is to eliminate financial worries. Think about this. Most people don't dream of having a yacht or a private jet. What they truly want is not to have to live with constant money anxiety. They want the freedom of knowing that if they need to buy a car, they can. That if they dream of a trip, they can take it without fear. That if they see a dress, a suit, or a gift for someone they love, they can buy it without feeling guilt or anxiety. What they're looking for isn't exaggerated luxury, but peace. The peace of not living counting every coin. The second universal desire is to wake up every morning with enthusiasm for life. Have you noticed how many people get up tired, dragging themselves to a job they don't enjoy, trapped in traffic, wishing Friday would come? That's not living. It's surviving. Deep down, we all long to open our eyes with excitement, knowing that the day that begins is an opportunity to do what we love. It doesn't matter if it's teaching, creating, serving, building. What matters is feeling that our life has a purpose that lights up our soul. The third desire is to surround yourself with positive and creative people. We all know what it means to be around negative people, who complain about everything, who live trapped in drama. That drains energy. Deep down, what we want is to live with people who lift us up, who believe in possibilities, who contribute ideas, who inspire. We want a community that reminds us that we're not alone, that there are others walking toward the same light. Now I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine these 3 desires already fulfilled in your life. You live without financial worries. With the peace that there is always provision, you wake up with passion every morning because your work is your vocation and your source of joy. You're surrounded by people who smile, who create, who vibrate with enthusiasm. That is true wealth. It's not just numbers in an account, but a lifestyle aligned with your soul. Ask yourself now honestly, which of these 3 desires burns the strongest in you today? What do you long for most? Financial peace, daily purpose, or relationships that lift you up? Whatever your answer, remember this. Those desires weren't placed in you by accident. They are traces of what you're destined to live. And when you align your mind with the right code, those 3 desires stop being a distant longing and become your new normal. Because abundance isn't the privilege of a few, it's the inheritance of anyone who dares to reprogram their paradigm. So far, we've discovered the truth. Your results don't lie. Your paradigm governs your life, and what you sow in the subconscious becomes your destiny. The big question is, how do you change that invisible program? The good news is there is a way. It's not complicated, but it requires decision, consistency, and faith. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 practical steps that have transformed the lives of millions of people. Step 1. Audit your results with brutal honesty. Imagine you're an airplane pilot. Before takeoff, you check the indicators: fuel, altitude, direction. Without that audit, the flight would be a disaster. The same happens with your life. Before changing it, you must clearly see where you are. Take a sheet of paper and divide your life into 3 areas: finances, relationships, health, and energy. Now write sincerely. How are those results today? Without embellishment, without excuses. Remember, your bank, your body, and your inner peace are faithful mirrors. They don't lie. This audit may hurt, but it also frees. Because by accepting your reality, you stop living in illusion and take the first step toward real power. Ask yourself with courage, what results have I refused to see? What patterns do I repeat again and again? Until you look at your scoreboard, you won't be able to change the game. Step 2. Rewrite the script in your subconscious. Here, the golden key comes into play. If your subconscious is fertile soil that accepts any seed, then it's time to sow new images. How is it done? Through affirmations charged with emotion, plus sensory visualization. Napoleon Hill called it auto-suggestion. Proctor explained it as installing a new paradigm. Every day, 3 times a day, sit in silence and repeat present tense phrases that describe your new life. I am a magnet for unlimited abundance. I live with purpose and passion every morning. I surround myself with people who inspire and elevate me. But it's not enough to repeat them like parrots. You have to feel them. You must close your eyes and see yourself there, signing that contract, traveling to that destination, hugging those people, breathing that peace. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between the real and the imagined. What you imagine with emotion, it begins to accept as normal. And when it becomes normal, your behavior changes in coherence. Think of an actor who repeats his role over and over until he becomes the character. That's what you do. Play a new identity until it becomes real. Ask yourself, what new phrases will you choose to plant in your mind today? What mental movie are you willing to project every day until it becomes your life? Step 3. Anchor behaviors and transform your environment. Imagine you plant a seed, and then, every day, you water it with clean water. But at the same time, around the soil, someone throws trash, stones, and poison. that seed will not grow strong. The same happens with your mind. You can repeat affirmations, visualize, but if your daily actions contradict what you declare, or if your environment is full of negativity, the old paradigm will always win. That's why you need to anchor concrete behaviors and protect your environment. Behaviors. Establish small daily rituals that confirm your new identity. If your goal is abundance, save or invest a small amount each week, even if it's symbolic. If your goal is health, walk 15 minutes daily as a minimum commitment. If your goal is purpose, devote half an hour a day to your project, even if it doesn't generate income yet. Environment. Surround yourself with people, information, and spaces that reinforce your new script. Read success books. Listen to audios that raise your vibration. Connect with people who believe in growth. Remember what Jim Rohn said. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your environment doesn't change, your results won't change. Ask yourself, what small action can I take today that shows my subconscious that I'm already changing? What person, habit, or environment should I leave behind to free my expansion? When you join these 3 steps, something powerful happens. 1. You honestly recognize where you are. 2. You install new images in your subconscious. 3. You back those images with actions and a coherent environment. That process breaks the old paradigm and builds a new one. And when the paradigm changes, the entire life changes. Remember, you don't need infinite willpower. You don't need to wait for an external miracle. You just need to train your mind as the most powerful muscle that exists. Napoleon Hill said, "A burning desire is the starting point of all achievement." Proctor completed it. Discipline is giving yourself an order and obeying it. Today, that discipline translates into 3 simple steps, and if you apply them, it doesn't matter your age, your past, or your current situation. Your paradigm will respond because your subconscious isn't your enemy, it's your most loyal servant. And if you learn to give it new orders, it will take you to a destiny that right now you can't even imagine. In life, there always comes a moment that divides everything into a before and an after. A moment where your past, your debts, your mistakes, or your excuses don't matter. Only what you decide today matters. Napoleon Hill said, "The moment of decision marks the beginning of your destiny." And Bob Proctor repeated it. When you make a decision, your paradigm begins to tremble. I want you to feel it right now. Today can be that turning point in your life. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not next year. Here, now. Close your eyes and imagine 2 paths in front of you. To the left, a dark path full of old routines, debts, limitations, worries. It's the same old path. To the right, a golden illuminated path that doesn't promise ease, but it does promise transformation. That path demands faith, discipline, and action, but it leads to the life you dream of. The decision is yours. To keep repeating the old program or install a new one. To keep justifying your results or dare to create them consciously. You don't need everything to be clear. You just need to decide. And when you do, your entire life will begin to move in your favor. The question is, what do you decide today? Today, you already know the key that can open your new destiny. Write the word "change" in the comments if you decide to install your new paradigm and save this message. In El Código Napoleon Hill, you will find the daily guide to transform your life.